Hello again from your infectious disease specialists. We're here to talk about MPOX, a virus formerly known as monkeypox. Variola virus, which causes smallpox, comes from the same family as MPOX. MPOX symptoms are similar to smallpox but are milder and are rarely fatal. Viruses have subgroups based on their genetic makeup and are grouped into clades. There are two main MPOX virus clades that share similar genetic sequences, namely clade 1 and clade 2, and they're further divided into the following. Clade 1, or the Central African clade, is associated with more severe disease, with mortality rates of up to 10%. On the other hand, clade 2, or the West African clade, is associated with less severe disease, with a mortality rate ranging between 1 to 3.6%. In 2022, a global outbreak of MPOX was caused by the clade 2 strain. MPOX continues to be a threat today. Since early May 2022, cases of MPOX have been reported from countries where the disease was not originally seen. In July 2022, the multi-country outbreak of MPOX was declared as a public health emergency of international concern, as it spread rapidly via sexual contact across a range of countries where the virus had not been seen before. That PHEIC was declared over in May 2023 after there had been a sustained global decline of cases. To describe the 2022 outbreak, as of November 2023, these are the top 10 countries that have reported the highest cumulative number of cases and account for about 81.4 cases reported globally. Why is MPOX again a global concern? MPOX has been reported in the Democratic Republic of Congo for over a decade. Last year, there was rapid emergence of a clade 1b strain that originated from this area and fastly spreading into neighboring countries. This is one of the reasons why MPOX has again been declared a public health emergency of international concern this August 2024. Seen here in yellow would be MPOX clade 2 spread outside endemic areas in Africa beginning 2022. There are also growing outbreaks of clades 1A and 1B affecting the Democratic Republic of Congo and other countries in Africa. As of August 2024, clade 1B has also been detected beyond Africa. Beginning January 1, 2022, there have been close to 103,000 laboratory-confirmed cases of MPOX globally and 223 deaths. Since then, MPOX has been reported in 121 countries or territories in all 6 WHO regions. In the Philippines, during the 2022 outbreak, we had 9 confirmed cases, with the last case being reported in December 2023. The situation is currently evolving as there are currently 8 reported cases since August 2024. How does MPOX spread from one person to another? You can get MPOX through close physical contact with a rash, scabs, or bodily fluids, where you have skin-to-skin, mouth-to-mouth, or mouth-to-skin. You can also get MPOX through prolonged face-to-face contact, wherein respiratory secretions can be secreted. You can also get it through touching contaminated surfaces or clothing. People with multiple sexual partners, men who have sex with other men, those belonging to the same household or close community as someone with MPOX, healthcare workers, and those who travel to countries with endemic or ongoing transmission are at a higher risk for acquiring MPOX. What are the symptoms of MPOX? It actually depends on which stage of the illness you are in. It takes about 5 to 21 days for the virus to incubate after you get exposed and infected. It is usually followed by a prodrome or a febrile stage, which lasts about 1 to 4 days. This stage is characterized by fever, headache, muscle aches or pains, swollen lymph nodes, fatigue, chills, or sore throat. After the prodrome stage comes the rash. The rash can look like pimples, bumps, or blisters that can appear anywhere on the face, inside the mouth, or anywhere in the body like the chest, trunk, hands and feet, anus, or genitals. The rash goes through different stages before healing completely. The entire illness typically lasts about 2 to 4 weeks. At least that's how classic MPOX is. Interestingly, in the 2022 outbreak, which was due to clade 2, was found to have some clinical differences compared to the classic presentation of MPOX. Classic MPOX mostly affected children and young adults in West and Central Africa. For the 2022 outbreak, most cases are seen in young men, especially among men who have sex with other men. Before, MPOX transmission was mainly due to contact with animal reservoirs and then by human-to-human transmission. Spread is usually within families. For the 2022 form, cases were seen more through exclusive human-to-human transmission, spread further through sexual networks, especially among unprotected sex, among men who have sex with other men. We've learned about the phases of MPOX and how, after getting exposed, it incubates. You might get a few prodromal symptoms like fever or swollen lymph nodes for a few days, and then the rash comes out. For the 2022 form, the prodrome might not always be present anymore, and lesions are now seen in unusual places like the genital and the perianal area. For more details of the different clinical presentations of recent MPOX cases, please refer to this atlas prepared by the WHO. How do you diagnose MPOX? Seen here would be the Department of Health updated case definitions for MPOX, suspected case and probable case. A confirmed case of monkeypox requires laboratory confirmation via detecting viral DNA sequences via RT-PCR. The specimen can only be collected by a trained personnel. To improve the yield of sampling, the recommended specimen is a skin lesion sampled preferably from fluid-filled lesions, and this includes swabs of the lesion surface, exudates, or less ideally, lesion crusts, collected after donning proper PPE, sanitizing the skin, and vigorously swabbing the lesion base. It's important to remember that people with MPOX are usually contagious during the prodrome or the febrile stage and up to the time that they have the rash. Up to when is MPOX usually contagious? Most people will be able to transmit the virus until all the lesions have been replaced with new skin. This usually lasts around 21 days. MPOX quarantine and isolation. For suspected, probable, or confirmed cases who have uncomplicated disease and are not high risk for complications, they may remain in home isolation provided that they are able to care for themselves independently, are ambulatory, and have full access to food or water. What to do if you have MPOX? Guidelines for home care. Stay in a separate room or area away from shared spaces. Separate your utensils, linens, beddings, towels, and avoid sharing personal items. Avoid peeling the scabs or doing skin manipulation. Cover the skin lesions. Wear a mask, especially if you have respiratory symptoms. Stay away from animals, including pets. Do not engage in any sexual or intimate activity involving direct physical contact. Disinfect surfaces frequently using common household disinfectants. Do wet mopping or cleaning and avoid sweeping, dusting, or vacuuming. Laundry from people with MPOX should be separated and handled using gloves and masks and should not be shaken. Close contact with MPOX means there was face-to-face, direct physical, including sexual contact, or contact with contaminated materials such as clothing and beddings. Face-to-face contact includes healthcare workers with no PPE. Quarantine is not needed if a close contact is asymptomatic. However, the person exposed must do active self-monitoring for 21 days and isolate promptly and test if he develops any compatible symptoms. During the 21-day monitoring period, he must also practice hand hygiene and respiratory etiquette, have no direct contact with pregnant or immunocompromised people. This would sometimes warrant healthcare workers to be reassigned. They should also avoid contact with young children. How do you treat MPOX? Treatment of MPOX is mainly supportive, namely, giving pain or fever medicine, providing hydration, and doing appropriate wound care with saline flushes and prevent bacterial superinfection. If there is rectal involvement, stool softeners can be provided. Mouth rinses for oral lesions can also be given. Antiviral medications that work for smallpox can be used for monkeypox. An example is tecovirimat, but these antiviral medications are usually accessible through clinical trials and are only indicated for those with severe MPOX or at high risk for severe disease, namely severely immunocompromised people, such as those with HIV, cancer, post-organ transplant, post-chemo or post-radiation, or those taking high-dose steroids. Those with active skin conditions listed below that make risk for dissemination higher: pregnant or lactating women, those under 18 years old, and those with protracted or life-threatening manifestations of MPOX, including eye involvement. How do you protect yourself against MPOX? Vaccines developed for smallpox may be used to prevent MPOX, but they are largely still unavailable. Masks continue to protect against respiratory secretions. Avoid close skin-to-skin contact with someone with a rash. Avoid contact with objects that a person with MPOX has used. Practice safe sex and be very discriminate with your sexual partners. Hand hygiene. When caring for someone who is sick, wear the right PPE and disinfect properly. If you have symptoms or potential contact, seek medical care immediately. When traveling abroad, plan ahead and check for MPOX cases. If possible, avoid crowded places. Wear long pants, long sleeves when traveling abroad, and mask up in crowded spaces. Upon return, don't forget to continue to monitor yourself for symptoms. This is a friendly reminder from your infectious disease specialists.